Sensitivity is intelligence. With grace and skill, you have abundance. Welcome to the Psychic Hour. Host Kelly Brickle is a psychic medium healer, numerologist, and teacher. Her passions are learning about the soul and energy. Whether it's through spirit, emotion, or vibrational numbers, there's always a pathway of information waiting to help. Now, here is your host of the Psychic Hour, Kelly Brickle.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to WLTK-DB Let's Talk Radio. Welcome, welcome. We have DeEtte Ranae on the show today, and we'll be talking with her how things have been in her journey and her psychic mediumship development and what projects she's working on. She's always fun, a lot of insight, a lot of just stories. So we'll be taking questions later on the show, so you can pop down your questions now to make sure we'll read them, or when we start talking and taking questions. So we have DeEtte coming in a little bit, and we always talk about the topic of the day, and I really want to go into the topic of transformation. And I think this is so important to talk about because, human beings are made to evolve. They're made to transform. They're made to change. And at the same time, we are creatures of habit. We are creatures of repetition. Our brain is constructed that we largely make decisions based on our subconscious. And the subconscious at work, we're not fully thinking. We're not conscious. That's the whole point. So we have to basically slowly integrate this massive change of identity and habit and belief systems to be a different person, to fully transform. And it's long and arduous. Sometimes it's, instantaneous. I'll always invite that in. But the large majority of how we change, even though things can be very quick, the large majority is quite strenuous because we are testing the limits and boundaries of our former selves, and we have to change our stories. Think about yourself 10 years ago. What was your story 10 years ago? And then what are your stories now? Some stories are going to be exactly the same. I'm a mother and I feel like this about being a mom. I'm a wife or a husband and I feel like this being, a wife or a husband. I'm a daughter. I'm a son, and my experience as a son has been A, B, and C. I'm a friend, and my experience of how my friends have treated me has been right, A, B, and C. How successful I am in my career, right? What are your beliefs? Who are you? And we really have to transform. It doesn't have to be, we have to be at the apex. We have to be at the top. And if we're not at the top, we have to keep going. We just have to learn and integrate and ultimately go, hey, since this didn't work, I need to try this. And if I'm not happy within my life, what is that attached to? Because everything goes back to an origin point. And we have to be very honest with ourselves, of what am I contributing? What is my belief system with who I am and why am I this way? And it's funny because a lot of people, I feel, are being called, like the pandemic did help because it ushered in a huge change, huge global, consciousness of, we had time to sit with ourselves and go, is this the world we really want? This is where we're at. What do we really want? We're put in situations, a lot of us, where we'd rather not be stuck in our house. We'd rather be seeing friends and family. So since we don't want this, it's a huge metaphor. I don't want this. I'd rather have that. And so what then needs to change if I were to be in a world that I wish I was in? Okay. And so there is almost this process of death through transformation. Death is transformation. Like a lot of times within, spirituality, death is talked about a lot, and death can be fearful. Don't get me wrong, the idea of, annihilation and goodbye, it can be quite scary. But in spirituality, death is just transformation. It really is. Um, and so I've been having conversations with people a lot in the sphere of, how they're changing and who they want to be and where they want to go next. And I think that just naturally comes up in readings and healings, right? Um, and a lot more people are like, I'm ready. I want something different. It's not so much as I want that next step. Like I've always envisioned this for myself. It's I want something different, and I know I have to be different. And these stirrings inside of me, I haven't always envisioned this for myself, but I've always thought, yeah, that would be nice, or I do have conviction within that belief. And so a lot of times we've been talking about, okay, a part of you has to die. A part of you has to let go who you formerly were. And I think that that is a concept that people, depending on where they are welcoming, or they just are not comfortable processing. Okay. The death of self, right? The self still remains. It's just the death of the former self. But it's true. Do you want to be like who you were when you were 15? No, no one does. Maybe there's aspects that you've let go along the way that you'd like to return to, right? And it's because you're called to return back because that's your true self. And that is an aha moment at any stage of life. There's people who, let's say, have a new endeavor, and they go, wow, okay, I actually didn't like that. I'm going to return back to something that actually made me joyful. The whole grass is greener on the other side concept comes into effect. And when we're young, we sometimes can be more, I guess, just naturally led to what gives us joy. Not always, it depends on the background, it depends on someone's personality, right? But some of us are just naturally led to certain things because it gives us pure joy. Like when we're a young child or we're in our early teens, if we don't have enough peer pressure. And then we find ourselves when we're older, we return back to what really excited us. And that's wonderful. That is just returning back to being honest with ourselves. And that's the concept. Like transformation is just stripping away what doesn't serve us. Like transformation is literally changing state. And if you are true to yourself, no matter what state you become next, you know that naturally the things that light up your soul are going to follow you because they're a part of you. How can, like, they cannot follow you? That is you. That's what I'm trying to say. Transformation is a state that strips away what is not real for us, and the truth of who we are just naturally is, and it follows us from lifetime to lifetime or year to year. And we learn more about why the essence of that is so. Like, it's as silly as if you've been in love with the color blue since you were a child, and there's just blue just does something to you, right? And then all of a sudden you start finding an affinity towards, green. There's a truth within that. There's a truth within that. It's the way that something makes you feel. So sometimes, as we strip the layers down, it's like, I wasn't in love maybe with this person, or I wasn't in love with this job, but I was in love with what I received. I was in love with what I learned. I was in love with um, the communication and the understanding that this brought to me. So, not that the feelings weren't general, it's just we stripped down what things really mean. I kind of talk about this concept a lot. So we're going into, truth for a second with transformation because they go hand in hand. But it's one I like to talk about a lot, like in school, right? You know, a, a famous kind of aspiration for young children is to be popular, right? Right? Like, oh, I want, attention, or I want people to like me in school. People talk about being popular a lot when you're young, and the concept still remains into adulthood. But it's funny because for a child, just the basic concept of being popular or the basic concept of whatever pursuit they desire. It's linked to not just the idea. It's not linked to the group's idea. It's actually linked to the self's idea, but there's gratification perceived in the group. So for one person, being popular means status. For another person, being popular means happiness. For another person, being popular means attention. For another person, being popular means praise from their family, right? Um, Others might feel beauty, right? Confidence, power, um, influence. There's all these concepts. And then you would have to dive in further. Then now, what does beauty mean to the individual? Even as a kid, it means something to them as long as they are able to start to articulate how things make them feel. They have to be at an age where they can somewhat articulate. And then beauty. What does beauty mean to them? It means they have the ability to accomplish their dreams. It means that they are worthy. It means that they will be successful. It means that they don't have to worry. So it's like, what do concepts mean to us on every single level? What do our stories mean to us on every single level? If we can or can't have something, ultimately that boils down to, you know, how do you see yourself? If in I like to talk about career too. In your career, if you feel like you are successful or not, that correlates into the matter of a fact of, am I able to achieve what I'm seeking? Yes or no at this point in my life. And some people have a direct correlation with how their self esteem is, of course. Or some people have a direct correlation with, how they feel in life. So, no matter what your outcome, no matter if you are in the relationship you want, your career, you have the friends you want, you're as healthy as you want, you can transform and say, I'm this. I'm this. And your energy will start to match that because that's directive. You have to have a goal to set your aims for. If you aim your energy, your energy starts going towards the goal. And this is very important because earlier I talked about we're largely subconscious beings. So if you're constantly giving your body and your energy the directive, I would like to achieve A. Okay? I would like to have B. I am C, right? I feel, etc., etc., etc. Then naturally you start to become that on some level. And it's beautiful because a lot of times we're tested. We're always, there's like a saying, like once I'm going to paraphrase it, and it has been paraphrased a lot. So I don't know where the original quote is, but I've seen a lot of variations on this quote. And it's, once you achieve power, you will be tested. Okay. And so the energy will meet you. It will. But are you going to have enough time to get it done? Are you going to have enough time to even think about it as it hits your awareness? Um, all of a sudden, it might be uncomfortable what you have. Is it still joyful? Do you still want it? You might find that you have to not see your friends or family enough to have it. So all these different constituents for if you're able to have something comes up. And that doesn't mean you always have to, sometimes you do have to make sacrifices, don't get me wrong. And this is a spiritual journey to really find yourself. So when we are shedding what we don't need anymore, sometimes sacrifices come up. But in many ways, sometimes we don't have to make sacrifices. We just have to be honest with ourselves of, am I fighting this? Do I really want this? What does this mean for me? I have to let things go, right? Like, how can I put it? If you have to sacrifice seeing your friends to spend time to build up a skill, right? Or to study for a test or an exam or ace an interview, you're not letting your friends go. You're not letting your fun go. You're just literally leaning into what you need to do to have your goal. And your friendships will remain intact, especially if that correlates with who you are rising to be, who are you transforming to be. And as soon as you put yourself in that energy stream, like I said, it's not even about you anymore. The whole world and other people start responding to you in your new story, your new vibration, and they will start to test you as well. Not only as obstacles come up, but people will start to test you as well. Ah, you've reached this stage. Well, what about this? What about that? And we shape and we carve our way. We transform and we are tested and we become forged in this transformation. And that's ultimately what we have to do to maneuver, to grow, to become clearer, to become more knowing. That's what spiritual work is, to become more knowing of thyself and then share it with others. So keep on the journey, keep going strong, and keep learning, because when you are tested, it's just a mirror to let you know back something you need to know about yourself, and to course correct, and to keep going, just to keep always going. We are going to be back in a moment, and we're going to be having DeEtte on, and so we will see you very soon, in a moment. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. So we're going to bring in DeEtte and introduce her. Hello, Deidre. Hello.
Deidre.
Hello. Deidre just said hi.
Oh, hello,
But
Deidre. I said, hello,
DeEtte,
Deidre. I'm like,
yeah, no, I know that might have been confusing. DeEtte just popped on a whole. Excuse me. Now you got me all twisted and turning. Deidre just popped down a hello, and I wanted to make sure I said hi to her. But DeEtte, I want to introduce you. DeEtte Ranae is a certified LWISSD psychic medium and master teacher. You can find her sharing her gifts throughout the United States, demonstrating at conferences, and teaching others about their abilities. She is a host of 2 WLTK-DB shows, Schooled by Spirit and Unfiltered, where you can catch her on Mondays. And the other date is, gosh, when is your other show? I should have popped that down.
I got
you
Mondays
let me know.
and Tuesdays and WLTK-DB. I've got Wednesday nights and Spirit Realm Network.
What? Tell me about that. That's new.
Yeah, I just started that last week, I think. Yeah, that's been in the works for quite a while. Actually, I could not have done it without the support of Todd, our producer here, because he helped so much and supported me, like spread the wealth. So I started a reading show there called Spiritual Truth with DeEtte over there at Spirit Realm Network. That's actually tonight at 7:00. Yeah, I think 7
Wow. You're a
So,
busy lady.
yeah, I do. And then I actually started working with the Warren Legacy Foundation, and I do stuff with them now too.
Wow, you're updates. So I'm gonna say hi to Tim. Yeah, I know. So it's you, but you're always a busy lady. I'm gonna say hi to Tim too. And it's funny because I know when your shows are, but as soon as I started saying it, all of a sudden Wednesday popped in my head. Like, you have a Wednesday show now. I'm like, that's not right. Like, you have a Tuesday show. So I'm like, you tell me. So that explains it. And it's like yesterday, you pulled a card for me and you started talking about like a journey. So I'm taking a class that has the title Journey within it. And so it's like sometimes our brain just inserts things and we're like, why would we say this? Why would we say this? Right?
Exactly. You know, but it is what it is. It's so funny because John Holland just posted something like that today. He not that long ago, actually. I just seen it a couple hours or like the last hour. How he had gone into get a coffee or whatever. He's doing his errands. He went in to get a coffee and he's seen this lady's name tag and he was going to say hello, Melissa, address her by her name. But he said, hello, Lissa. And he goes, wait a second, does somebody else call you Lissa? And she's like, yeah, my grandmother. And then my mother did. He goes, mother did. And she goes, yeah, he passed away. And, you know, a conversation arose and he never told her. And then he actually looked at her and said, I keep hearing August. What's in August with you? And she was like, oh my God, something else special. And he goes, maybe related to the mom. He goes, maybe that's two hellos from her because random things have popped up into his head. He's like, I didn't tell her I was a medium. I didn't tell her any of that. It was just things that just will.
Blah, 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 blah. Well, that's what being unfiltered is, right? So
Yeah,
you're in the
that's
right
me.
place doing the right stuff.
I've been doing it my whole life. I might as well title myself.
It's very good. Yes. As soon as I saw that was your title, I'm like, yes. Perfect name. Perfect name.
It's
You have
me.
great show names. Schooled by Spirit and Unfiltered.
Unfiltered
You
by
know,
DeEtte, and then Spiritual Truth with DeEtte. So there you go. I mean,
tell me about these new projects,
okay.
this Wednesday show and the
Wednesday
foundation.
show, yeah, Wednesday show was just it was actually inspired by another medium, that's on the network, but she's a really good friend of mine, and her name's Anne, and she works out of Arizona. And Anne was like, "You need to come over here." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm never leaving WLTK because this is my home. This is my love.
Yeah.
This is my dedication. This is my place, I mean,
Todd's
Todd
great. The
tells
show's
me it's
great.
how I or he
Can't
dies,
wait.
and I'm not quite sure. He's gonna have less hair than he has now by the time that commitment is ended. He keeps saying he loves me anyway. I think he might be lying. I'm not sure. Anyway, but you know what? I just said, okay, let's spread the wealth. You know what? Let's go and do a second network also because it's hitting a bigger crowd, a bigger audience that maybe not be with us. And I love spreading the wealth when it comes to readings. And on that show, it really is a whole lot of readings. It's a lot of use my psychics, a little bit of oracle cards. Pick my brain, type any question you want. There you go. So if anybody wants to know anything, that's where I do that at. So it's like literally pick my brain and if I throw in a few readings, great. Um, the biggest thing I would say that's happened is the Warren Legacy Foundation. That's probably the biggest thing. And that really came up, you know, like I tell everybody, you would ask me a couple of years ago, will you do paranormal? And I do mean paranormal as in ghost hunts, that type, because we already know this whole world is paranormal. I went, no, ain't gonna happen. As a matter of fact, I screamed from the nope, won't do it. No, I talk to dead people. I don't want dead people saying boo. There's a big difference there. And I don't put a lot of energy into a lot of things. So literally what happened was slowly I started to walk into this world. I started, having students that wanted me to train them, that did paranormal investigations. And next thing you know, they're on site and they're calling me and I'm doing a reading of the dead person there, and whatnot. And it just kind of morphed into this. I was on a streaming network show and working with these other I want to say types of people, but they're not, they're amazing people and got to know people that like are producers of these big shows and just like, God, this is really not exactly a scary world once you know about it. And then in walks the Warren Foundation, which that is, and I will tell you what happened was, Heather Lee actually, requested to be on my show once, and Heather Lee has now got a show with us. God, she's amazing. And I brought her on my show, and then I was like, oh my God, I would love to have you back on again. And we ended up doing a book launch with her, and then through that, Chris
Nice.
McKenna came on, and next thing you know, I'm meeting Joe, who is the CEO of Warren Legacy Foundation. And next thing you know, they're like, "Will you work with us and do remote viewing into some of our tougher cases that are international, the ones that they're like having a really hard time with?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't want anybody to go boo." And they're like, "We're going to keep you safe. Don't worry. I never have to walk into someplace." So I've actually worked on probably 4 or 5 cases now, some in the United States and some internationally.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
What so can you tell people what the foundation is?
The
Like the
found
history.
Okay, the foundation, it actually was started, I believe it was actually started after, Ed and Lorraine, Warner passed away, but don't quote me on that. But it's
Okay.
about really Ed and Lorraine, Warren, a lot of people may have better reference to them to the movie The Conjuring, okay, which is that scary movie of the scary house and whatnot. They were the investigators on that, okay? By the way, from what I hear, and I've actually brought this up on my own show, it was a whole lot of woof in Hollywood, but it wasn't one of their most interesting cases. Okay, it really wasn't an interesting case to them. Um, but it did make Hollywood, and it made their names a little bit bigger. And they were people that went in, Ed and Lorraine, and they really had a passion for psychic, and Barry had a passion for haunted houses and the spirits and people that lived in those. And people would call him up and they never charged money. They would go into say your house is haunted and you're like, I can't deal with this. You would call Ed and Lorraine and they would show up and they would do a simple investigation and they'd see what they could do, whether it be communicating with the spirit, cleansing the house, what education, whatever it was. And after they passed, now Chris McKenna and Joe Frankie decided to come together and really create this foundation that still is on the same premises of everything that Ed and Lorraine did. So it's still completely free of charge. People, I mean, they don't even charge gas money to go to these places. Nothing. It's completely free. If people have a spirit, an entity, whatever it might be in their home, they call the foundation. They just basically say, "Hey, we need help," and the foundation goes in and they see what they can do to help. So a lot of them are not they're normal paranormal investigators. So they go in and they their whole MO is to go in and make it better, not worse. So it goes in with a lot of education. So like from my point of view, if I go into a home, I know that I can't force this spirit to leave. That's their home as much as it is yours and mine. You know what I mean? But what I can do is I can kind of negotiate with the spirit and say, hey, what can we do to get kind of cohabitating here on a better level? Now, I will tell you, some of the members of the foundation have seen those entities, those things that I don't like to give energy to, and I don't because I've never seen one. And until you prove it different to me, and I don't want to be proved different, so don't think I'm going there. But some of them do deal with a lot of possessions, whether it be an entity or a spirit or whatever it be. So it's their cases really are just huge, and I've had the blessings to be able to see some of those. So.
So hello to Nick and Jesse Cat. And so DeEtte, do you go in solo under the okay, what you would go in with a team with the foundation then? Tell me about this.
What I do is from home. What I do is right
Okay.
from here, okay?
Got it.
So what they do is they'll call me up or they send me a message, and I literally ask for a first name and an address. I don't want anything else. That's all I want is a first name and an address. And when I go in with the first name of the person, I go in and I honestly go my more medical intuitive. So I go in there, and of course, I have permission from the family. I have permission from the person. So I'm not doing this like, hey, and cringing on somebody. But I go in there and I basically do a reading on what's going on with the person, how are they being affected, and all of that type of situation. And then I go in to see where it is in their house that they're being affected. So I might be in their living room, I might be in their kitchen, I might be in their bedroom, wherever it is. And then I go and kind of see what is it that has caused this. So is this something that has been there with this house since maybe somebody passed away, or maybe the land, or have they done some like things they shouldn't have done and maybe opened up something they shouldn't have done? Does that kind of make sense? Kind of like going
Yeah.
there where I don't like to go, but some people do go. And then I try to see what it is. So there's been some cases where I've seen, wait a second, I'm seeing some spell pages, I'm seeing something, and I'm seeing it linked to trying to find grandma, you know what I mean, or something like that. And they've opened up something, but it gives the team something to be able to go in there and kind of help with. Now, what I use the address for is then after I've done all of this, I put the address in so I can see, is this actually to the property or is it to the house? It's more of a confirmation for myself. And if it's into the property or house, I can actually start to track it from that point. You know what I mean? Say, for some, I've seen it, it's actually to do with the property. The spirits are attached to the property and not the house. And they've just been going house hopping, doing what they do, you know. So it just kind of gives me an extra source to be able to go in. And I give the foundation all my information and I walk away from it. I don't even want to know. I don't want to know anything when it's done.
Okay.
It's now
Do
if
you know oh, do you know in general kind of what the next step of the foundation is
they
after you?
they just take the information in there and they educate the people and they do everything they can to help. So it's
Okay.
kind of like any other house that's kind of haunted. They go in there, they might bless it, they might cleanse it with some sage. If it's more of an understanding of, hey, it's just grandpa, and grandpa was just an old crotchety type of guy. He's just still being there, old crotchety. Things that we deal with, that type of stuff. It's just the ones that really haven't crossed over yet.
Yeah,
So
that
that's
makes sense.
that's the difference. The ones that decide to stay instead of the ones that decide to go. Yeah.
Wow.
It's just
So
a whole different realm for us. It's not something I ever thought I'd walk into, but Yeah.
I mean, you're led where you're led, and you've been doing more paranormal investigations, so
Yeah.
that's the current draw. That's the current path.
It's one of them, yeah. It's just one of them.
It's just one of many, yes.
Yeah. Yeah,
When I talked to you last time you were on the show, you said you were really being drawn to that path, like
yeah.
that was building up. So, what other paths are showing themselves to you since that time?
Well, you know what? I started kind of like an unfiltered with, DeEtte tour. Okay, so I do have the unfiltered radio show. But we decided to do an unfiltered tour with myself also. And what it is it's just that we are, whether I be at an event or we do some galleries, on one-on-one, or I do them online, it's just unfiltered. So because it's going to be kind of my tagline that this mouth, I mean, anybody knows my mouth. There's no filter. I have been trying to clean it up, but there's no filter. You know what I mean? Oh,
Been
thank
trying
you. I
Nick's
have
throwing
been
some love.
I've done well, Nick is one of the shadow he's the head of the shadow hunters, and he's just amazing. I love Nick. So, yeah, yeah, he's actually an organization. I'm like a guest medium, so for him, yeah.
Oh, hey, can you share a story with one of
Oh,
those
I will feel that.
investigations?
I will not one that we did together because we're gonna be going back again, but I will he asked me to come into a place with him down in Illinois. It was like an Al Capone's hangout, and it was so funny
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's one of his places, and, I actually kinda giggled because, of course, Al didn't show up, but one of his men came in, and I kept saying, "I have a boyfriend, I think, tonight. I have a new boyfriend tonight," because anywhere I would go, the spirit was following me and talking to me. Oh, Lodge of Antioch, thank you, Nick. And it was so funny because it's normally downstairs is where all the energy is, so we were doing some stuff upstairs, and he was making the colored balls go off and all these other gadgets go off, and I was listening to him, and then, of course, they had some voice recorders and stuff and going off or the ghost box going, and it was really just kind of funny because people downstairs are like, "There's nothing going on downstairs." They're like, "But he's up here. He was talking." So it was almost it was just kind of funny because he had somebody that could hear him, and Deidre was there that night. So it was me and
Oh,
Nick
wow,
and Deidre and
there's like a trifecta of people
there's
that
well,
have
oh my gosh, a lot. The team was there, Sharon, I mean, Greg, a lot of it was awesome. It was an event that Nick does, for the place to kinda raise money. So it was really awesome to do it. Yeah. Not the best of the I mean, it was just a very small amount, but I don't want to leak too much information of a bigger investigation went on because I do believe it's gonna hit, I do believe Nick is gonna put it on Paraflex, so I don't wanna say too much about the other place, but tell you what, the other place is so much going on, it's awesome.
okay, some more to
That's for a
come, and
later show when I can actually talk about it.
hey, it will come all in due time, and then you said for the Unfiltered tour, you, are planning to go around the United States, and I know you have something coming up, overseas too. Is that gonna be part of the Unfiltered tour?
No, overseas is something totally different.
Okay.
Um, a
It's a like
lady
a treat. It's a
I've
retreat
got a
though, yeah?
couple of things actually overseas planned next year, not just 1, I've got 2 things, but I mean 9s, come on, Kelly. So next year in end of
It's that one next year for you. That's all about pursuits, activating, getting ideas, like, in physical form, the new you being, like, activated. Yeah.
yeah, and it's crazy because, one of the things is, Secrets of Ireland tour, company asked me, her name is May, got a hold of me and asked if I'd be an ambassador for their company, and I said, "Yeah, where do you wanna go?" She's like, "Let's go to Ireland." I'm like, "Bet, let's go to Ireland." So, I have an Ireland tour going that when we go over, I think we can take up to 40 people, and it's this
Oh,
amazing
wow.
tour. We go over there and we're gonna do some of course, we're gonna be in a lot of old places because that's what, Ireland and things overseas are. So we're gonna do some paranormal work over there. We're gonna do some mediumship readings, see the north side of the country and just really have a great time. I think we're there for like 10 days, 9 or 10 days. It's phenomenal. But then I'm home for like I get home I think October 5th, and I head back over to England, if it all comes out right, we're manifesting here. But I believe the date is like November 1st or something like that. I'll be going back over to England with Carrie Standfast from one of the master teachers. And
Yeah.
me and Carrie are going to do a mediumship gallery night, and we're going to do a day where we teach we're gonna do a workshop where we teach all the levels, like all the levels in one day, like craziness. And then we're gonna try to do 2 paranormal nights where we go into like an old prison over there. I mean, come on. And someplace else we're doing a couple of paranormal nights. So it's gonna be so much fun. So I'll be back in England for like, I think it's like 7 days.
I was gonna say, it sounds like you need 2 weeks in England because
I need it. I know. I'm only there for like a week, so it's a quick in and out. And she's gonna treat me while I'm there. We're gonna head down to Hogwarts, Arthur Findlay for one night, so I can just be in Arthur Findlay, and we're gonna
Wow.
they do gallery demonstrations over there, so we're gonna go down there so I can see Hogwarts. She's like, "You can't come to England and not see Hogwarts," so I'm
Wow.
gonna go there, do that. So yeah, I'm super
How
excited.
how close is that to from where Carrie is? Is she rather close?
From what I understand, when I talked to a friend of mine, Rob, who's from England, he says everything in England's like within 2 or 3 hours, so it's like driving across Wisconsin.
I forget that,
So,
honestly, you're right,
I'm like
I forget
America, where it's
that.
like for me to get to you is like a 4-day drive. Over there,
You're
it's like
right.
4 hours from there. Yeah,
It's kinda strange, that concept, but it's true. You know,
yeah,
you just think of it being so much bigger, or like all of the UK for some reason. I have no idea.
yeah.
Hello, Jessica. Hello, Jamie. And we're taking questions in about a couple minutes. So pop down your questions, everybody. You can ask DeEtte whatever is on your mind for her expertise and her point of view. So it's the good stuff. Make sure you ask your questions. Wow, gosh. So it's like you're in planning mode for next year.
I actually, I'm actually, looking at I've actually booked some places next year, so, like, I'll be at Michigan Paranormal. I believe that's in August. I will be going
Cool.
to Culture City next year. Supposed to be there this weekend. A lot of things happened, so I couldn't get there. So we've actually transferred everything to next year. So I'll be in Arizona next year. I'll be doing a Pensacola event over in Florida next year that's already
Ooh.
on the docket. I just talked to somebody about possibly going over to Buffalo next year again for another event over there. So I'm going to get to California though, Kelly. I'm telling you, I'm not afraid of California anymore. So it's like, let's go.
Wait, whoa, whoa. Why were you afraid of California? What's that
I
about?
I've always said this. I've always said this. California kinda scares me, and I've always said that California is just gonna kinda fall off someday, like it's just hanging on a like a small cliff, and my big butt would be that 1 pound too much that'd just go bloop.
You think once you get there, like there's gonna be some like Armageddon going down,
I don't
states
know.
going out into the sea?
No, it's so funny because 'cause I've had so many people say, "You need to they've invited me to California to do things, like, "Come here, teach, come here, do." I've had so many people say, "Come to California," like, "Just come on and do, like, a tour of California," and now I'm finally like, "Okay, maybe California would welcome me, I need to go to California." So, I'm all for it now, I'm not afraid anymore, where before I was like, "No."
But what about like Florida? That might go into the ocean too.
Yeah, but, I can swim back. I can swim back. Yeah. Florida's closer to being underwater right now, unfortunately, God bless them that they can
Oh no, yeah. Well, yeah, God bless with, the hurricanes and everything, but yeah,
yeah,
they both stick out
we are
rather far.
so affected by that, so, yeah, yeah, I have a friend
Well,
that owns a house right on 7 Mile Beach, so, yeah, it's horrendous what they've gone through, so,
how's
yeah.
she doing?
He is doing
Oh,
fabulous.
he.
Thank goodness he spends summers up in Wisconsin and Minnesota, so that's he's there for 6 months and 1 day every year to maintain his, 'cause it's the Keys, so to maintain his, residency, but he was up here, but he did they sent me pictures of what would consider their backyard, which is the beach, and, the beach is virtually gone, and I got a beautiful picture of the back of his house, and the sand is halfway up his, sliding glass doors, which doesn't seem that bad except for when you think about this house is built up off the sand. So that sand has filled the whole entire garage underneath the house and then still halfway up the house.
Wow.
That's his backyard is up against his house now. So it's incredible. I just bless everybody that survived it. Thank God, because it was just so horrendous. Yeah.
People are encouraging you to come to California, okay? So we got the healing vibes and the okay on Florida, and
It'll
we're
make
we're continuing to send that, but we got we got someone asking you to come to Palm Springs. People are saying that it's nice. Other people are saying they understand the whole it might sink into the ocean, but they're encouraging that energy. Jamie says that she's gonna see you at Michigan Paracon. She has a booth there. So she's excited. And we have our first question being popped down. It's right around that time. So Jessica asks, would love to know, where do you girls see me? Oh, what you see me do in the future and what you see me moving homes. Okay. So we're not doing a reading show, but we're doing more like of questions regarding if you are developing your gifts, or, insight into what got DeEtte from A to B, where she is in her life, whether it's insights with how she is learning about her own energy or her career or her skills and gifts, things like that. Okay, cool. Let's see. Someone's giving love to you, though.
Oh,
Someone's giving love to you.
love you back,
Yeah.
Jamie.
She's saying, DeEtte is amazing, always quick to answer questions, engage with all she comes online and in person. I came to a show, my support, quick, but I gotta go. That's really sweet. That's really sweet.
I hope to meet you some too, Miss Jamie.
Someone's talking, is this an event? Spirits in the Spring is in
Spirits in the
April.
Spring is in April. It's an event. It's one of the places I can't talk about. Nick is actually hosting it. Shadow Hunters is actually hosting it, and it's at the site that we've done a paranormal investigation at. And I have the honor that I've been asked to be like one of the gallery mediums there, or the gallery medium there. No, I'm not the only one, because there's a surprise person coming in that I know and love dearly, and I cannot wait to hold her again. So I gotta keep my mouth shut about that because it's a big secret. But and I'll be on the panel because there'll be a panel of ask the questions of the people that do this stuff, doing that, and then I'll also be doing readings. And I do believe there'll be another paranormal investigation of the facility that we're at, which is the Broadhead Manor in Broadhead, Wisconsin, which is just the levels of energy there is just amazing. Like you
Even
can
as you say it.
Well, it's so cool because you can walk in this facility, and one time you might be like with the ooey dooey evil type stuff, but it's got so many different levels of energy. And when I talk about levels, it's just time periods of energy. So you can walk in and get the time period of just, all the kids, or you can get the time periods of something a little bit more. They'll get you cowering a little bit more. It just depends on where you're at. So it's just amazing. It's an amazing place. And to be able to go back and do an investigation again, and to do the event there and be honored to be part of it, and be honored at it. Oh my gosh, it's huge. It's huge. I love it.
It sounds really important, and it sounds like, the energy seems really, like, I can feel it as you say it when you talk about that manner. So just a quick reference, because they're talking about spirits in the spring, and they're like teasing that's gonna, she'll share that in due time. But it's funny, every time I just think about and feel the word spring with you, it just reminds me of your energy, like, the forest and just like the light shining through the trees. So I don't know, it feels very good. Dionysius, that's a fun name.
I love that.
Yes. How can I develop my intuition/premonitions more? I've been on point lately, but when it comes to my personal stuff, I doubt it.
Oh boy, personal stuff, I doubt all the time too, all the time. I will tell you what, I can in my own way. If I want a reading, I will call Kelly, or I will call somebody else, you know. But I'll tell you what, for myself, just as you're on point with everybody else's, it can happen the same with yourself. Okay. So I always tell people, wake up right out before you even get out of bed, like do your stretches, let your body get into today's energy, and then go, what's going to happen today? What is going to happen? What do I need to know? Whatever. And then pay attention to what just randomly pops into your mind, because that is going to be that's those golden nuggets. AKA Lisa says it all the time. Those are those golden nuggets that literally help you through the day, that help you to guide you. We don't always necessarily get, like, if I want to read, if I want to know what's going on in my life, I'm going to get a hold of Kelly, because Kelly can tell me, boom, here you go. But if I want to navigate through my day, I literally just pay attention. And I won't be like, I don't have my ear to it all the time, but when it comes in randomly, I'm like, hey, got it, go, got it. I know, because I know it's just random. It's not me It's not the daydream, and it's not the fantasy world that we want to, imagine something happening. It's those random thoughts, it's the randoms, go left, go right, don't go to there, don't buy this, all those random things. And then take note of it. At the end of the day, take note of what ones you were right.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful advice because when I was first starting, I would journal and then I'd go back because you might get something and it might feel very insignificant, but when you read it, like, a month or two later, you go, oh, that was actually really insightful, but I didn't think it was really much of anything. And then you understand how powerful, the spirit world is working with you in mind and others in mind, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense until it happens,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah,
then you think like, oh, but no, I don't know about, or I'm wrong about my life, and it's just you understand how to tweak what's coming. Not how can I put that? Not tweak, but you understand the context more. I think it's hard to understand context the more personal we are.
yeah, yeah. I 110% agree with you. Couldn't agree more.
I'll
Yeah.
tell. I just I can I tell a story really quick?
Please do. Please do.
Okay. I remember I was doing a reading once for someone who was at the same job as me, and the number 2 came in. And, like, I was thinking in my head too, like, they're gonna be leaving their job in 2, and I was working the same job that they were working, so, I was, like, very connected to them. I'm like, 2, I'm like, "Well, it can't be 2 months, it must be 2 years, right?" And so I started talking about 2 years. Well, she wound up leaving in 2 months.
Oh,
And I was like, that number 2 came in. Remember how I was talking about that number 2 was coming in and I was shocked that it would come up. And so I started talking about 2 years.
yeah,
And then she's like, yeah, it was actually 2 months. She's like, I was already planning, but I didn't want to tell anybody about it, you
oh,
know? And so if she wasn't connected to me, I would have gotten it.
right.
Right? And
Yeah,
so that was a lesson that's a lesson that I learned. And the last thing I'll say is I was just talking to someone just the other night, and they were doing something that I didn't agree with, all right? So, when friends give other friends advice, and I'm sure, like, in your family, DeEtte, or your friends, sometimes you get an intuitive hit, and you're
oh,
like, "Please don't do that,"
mhm.
but it's connected to you, right? So you're like, "Maybe I'm overthinking it, maybe I'm overfeeling it, maybe I'm
Yeah,
afraid," and sometimes you just go, like, really loud within your soul, "I just gotta tell you, please don't do that.
yeah.
Please don't do that."
It's exactly it, just because it could be yeah, it's just too close of a connection. Just too close of a connection, you know?
Have Can I ask you, so in the context of
Yeah,
Dionysius's question, with your intuition,
mm,
but it's connected to your personal stuff, like with your kids or with your
mhm.
friends, have you ever been like, am I overthinking or is my fear getting in the way of telling them no? Or any intuitive hit you've got, or are you just unfiltered, or have you had
No,
moments where you've held back?
I used to open my mouth up all the time. I won't even lie. Like, if I got I mean, especially when we're new, well, I should say, because my whole life I've been that person, just knew it all. I was always the one that knew it all. I was the know-it-all kid. You know what I mean? Had no clue what I was doing, had no clue I was psychic, had no clue anything. So I was unfiltered. I was always spitting it out. I can honestly say the only person I still that do that to is Lisa. Seriously, she's the only person I still just and I look at she's like, "It's okay, it's me, don't worry about it." And it's usually correct. So and she's always like, "If you're saying I know I need to hear it." Um, but with anybody else, I don't say it anymore. One, because half the time I found, because I was so close to the situation, I was probably wrong. You know what I mean? Or it wasn't warranted. Like, they don't want to know. My family's,
Right.
I had to get to the point where my friends and my family were like, you know what? You're all spirit. We don't want to be all spirit. You know? So I had to find an even path for myself. Now, do I live by spirit? Yeah, I will tell you what, I have a very spirit filled life, whether I be at home or on the job. I'm very spiritful. I even teach grandbabies. I'm teaching her how to wash her hands and wash her aura, and she blows a bubble and she jumps into it and all that. Because this is my life. But I don't have to project my life onto somebody else, because those readings or those tidbits of information just aren't warranted. And I will tell it also goes the other way, because my kids, well, one of my kids, not both of them, will go, what do you feel about this, mom? And I'll be like, cut you off a long time ago. Sorry, love you, bye. And she just looks at me. I'm like, because when I was open to it and I was giving her all this information, it really did not help our relationship either. It really did not help our relationship because all of a sudden it's people sometimes start looking at you like you're saying this and they're doing it because you've said it, not because it's really going to happen. You know what I mean? So it ends up being kind of like a double-edged sword. So, and sometimes life is just supposed to be lived. It's supposed to be lived without if my friends or my family or anybody out there, you know what I mean? Anybody out there, we're supposed to live our lives. And if we're supposed to have information, trust me, you don't need me to tell you. It's coming in anyway. The only time you need me is if my name pops in your head and you're like, I need a reading. Boom. You know what? That's what
Right.
I'm there for. I'm there for you just like, hey, you know what? My toe hurts. I better call the doctor. You know what? I need this guidance. I'm going to call her for this. But those daily hits, you're going to get those. And they're
I
going to be
think
accurate that way.
the most important thing too, you bring up such a wonderful point. Like you said, um, the only way you need me is if you call me up, right? Like directly call me up. So like your energy has to be, I want to hear, I want help.
Yeah.
Right? Other than that, you can't safety net people. Like, they have to make mistakes in order to learn.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. I mean, gosh, we didn't make mistakes. We wouldn't learn. We wouldn't grow. And life wouldn't be fun, would it? You know? You know
It would
what?
be less chaotic, but
I used
yes,
to
I hear you.
You know what? I will tell you what. I was that naughty mom. One of my children had an issue with drinking before they turned 21. And this is how I curbed it. And I won't lie, I was that mom, and thank God it's been 12, 13, 14 years. But I had a party for her. I bought the alcohol. I took her. I picked her up. I did the whole thing. Okay. And then when she was done, I took her to Denny's. Why? Because that's what you do when you're drunk. You go to Denny's, right? And here she is sloshed with a room full of slosh people at bar time. And she just sprawls out and she goes, "You ruined drinking." And I said, "How'd I ruin it?" She said, "You took the fun out of it." Isn't that what it's about? When we have knowledge, we take the fun out of it. When we have knowledge, we take the whole scare of stuff out of stuff, and it doesn't make us fun. It doesn't make us want to do it again. So life is about screwing up. Life is about all of those accidents, all those mistakes. And when you learn, you don't do it again. When you learn, why do that again? You know what I mean? So you have to make more mistakes. You have to make more accidents. You have to make more stuff just so you keep growing and learning and growing and building. It's like in 10 years, I'm going to look back at this conversation and say, God, I was so immature. I was such an idiot. I'm 51 years old. I'm going to say that to myself because in 10 years, I'm going to make that many more mistakes and that many more screw ups and learn and grow and have all that extra under my belt also.
And allowing ourselves to make mistakes, because I think like, as when we're developing, especially in the beginning, we're like, I shouldn't say that, or I
Mhm.
could be wrong. And it's just like, if you keep yourself in that place, you can't grow. So
Right.
you were talking earlier about teaching your daughter, excuse me, your granddaughter,
Yeah.
your little mini me, how to practice energy hygiene.
Mhm.
Michelle asks about that. How do you practice energy hygiene for protection? She's asking. And then Sharon says hi as well. And she says it's an honor to have you here. So she's very excited that you're
I
here.
love Sharon. She's such a little rock star. I love her. So energy hygiene, you know what? I can't scream enough of it on every level. Every level. I teach it in every one of the courses I teach. Well, yeah, pretty much every course I teach. I go back to the basics, and to me, the basics is that energy hygiene. Why do I have to? Now, I'm going to say this into context. We're keeping the paranormal investigation out of it. I'm talking about regular mediumship, regular psychic, blah blah blah. Paranormal, need it no matter what. But
Yeah.
if I'm looking at regular mediumship, I don't need protection because those your loved ones don't want to hurt me. I don't have to think about it in any way, shape, or form because I know my intent's there. I know their intent's there, and I know it's very positive and it's full of love. Okay. On a psychic level, I do go for protection. One, because I'm up, say if I'm doing a reading for you, Kelly, I'm going to be up all over your energy. I am going to be up all, and I'm I hear things predominantly, but I feel things. Being that medical intuitive, I am literally up in your energy. I'm feeling everything up I possibly can. God, that sounds bad, but it's what I do.
No, it's true. It's true.
It's true. I'm all over that. Okay. But that also means I'm taking all of that on here. Okay. So I have got to protect myself. So the first thing I do is, you know what? I do like a prayer of intention. I do this, I literally ask for this. I ask to be protection. Okay. Which is a lot of intention. I go in and I wash my hands. Simple. Washing your hands. Why? Because our hands are our source of healing. Whether you're a medium, if you do energy healing, whatever you do, this is where our energy centers are. They go through our hands. So washing our hands really does wash that energy, cleanses it. But while you're doing that, imagine that you're washing your whole aura, not just your hands, but your whole aura. And you're making it squeaky clean, and if you need the visual, when you're washing and you're rinsing your hand, imagine you're watching the dirt and the filth of your aura be taken off and into that water and down the drain. Okay. And then simply blow a bubble. Blow a bubble. You know what? For myself, I just imagine a bubble around me, like a kid's blow, bubble around me, and imagine it being around me. And even though that bubble is very thin, it can't pop. Okay. I can feel through it, but somebody else can't take energy from me. It's a one-way thing. For my granddaughter, literally, every morning she gets washed in my aura. She's got a little song about washing her aura. And then I go before she jumps off the toilet, because I have her standing on the toilet to wash her hands. I go, blow your bubble. And she goes, and then I pick her up and I jump her into her bubble. You know what I mean? So I literally put her in this bubble, and she goes, it's the first intention for her. You know what I mean? To go and throughout this day. But that's literally how you do it. You're going to realize that, you know what, when you've done this, that number one, you don't have to have too many attitude adjustments. Why? Because you're only feeling yourself. You're not taking everybody else's stuff on. As long
Yeah.
as you're in this bubble, I will tell you, you will know if this bubble's gotten weak or if this bubble's popped, because all of a sudden you're a jerk. Out of nowhere, you're
It's
a
true.
jerk.
It's true.
You
It's true.
think, and you're standing there going, God, I've pissed in everybody's Cheerios. What happened?
Churros.
And you're looking around going, oh, I'm just, you know, God, I'm going to
Churros and honey.
Cheerios and honey. Yeah. And you're going, what happened? First thing I tell people is stop in your tracks, look around, see who the real jerk in the room is, because it's probably not you. You've actually taken on somebody else's energy, and they're pulling from you. Eyeball them, so you go, it's you. Then turn tail, go to the bathroom, wash your hands, blow your bubble, do some wusa breathing, because breathing is going to be your best friend. Breathing is life, and raise your energy through your breath. Okay. And then come back out, renew it again. It's really that simple. Spiritual protection does not need to be hard. It's not hard. It's just paying attention, doing it throughout the day, making sure making sure at all times that you are at your best and that you are the only person in your bubble and nobody else is in there.
That's a really powerful concept too, when you start to have awareness about your bubble starting to disintegrate or even pop,
Yeah,
because it's like, what caused that? Were you just accumulating too much, doing too much? Was it stress, not a great environment, not a positive person? Like, what caused you to pop? And like, to learn that about yourself, or to learn to sense what comes your way as it's
yeah,
impressing upon you, like, that's powerful stuff with energy reading, management, healing.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
actually learned all about that. I was working in Hayward, Wisconsin, because I quit nursing, went to Hayward, and was serving. And I learned that when I was serving, going through the summit, because we learned all about that. And I'd be in this great mood. I'd be going through the restaurant as fast as I could. And all of a sudden I'd be like, what the hell do you want? And I go, ooh. And I would
Oh no.
stop and I'd look around like, who's the asshole in here? Who popped my bubble? Excuse my language. And I'd be like, ooh. And then I would literally stop. I'd go wash my hands, get back up, and I would come in, and whether it's my table or somebody else, I would go to that table and I would do whatever I could to change the vibration of their energy. Whether it was joking with them, laughing at them,
Yeah.
whatever it was, because I did not want that near me or around the restaurant. And if I could just do whatever I could to change that energy and lift it back up, all of a sudden I knew I was safe again, and so wasn't everybody in the area. So
You're You're kind of making me remember of a story. You and I were involved within this. And so remember in Master Teacher in Lilydale where we had
I
like
didn't do so good there,
the
Kelly. I didn't do so good there.
you did great.
My
You did
bubble
great.
popped and blew away like
I think there was a lot going on. I understand, but I think you did a lot better than you thought you did. That's for sure. Like I have very fond memories of you like excelling and
I'm
of
amazing.
being impressed by you and so it's
I would
just
go and do it all over again, believe it or not. Every
yeah.
every bit of it. Healthier me would love, and actually I've
Yes,
gone back. I was just in Lilydale not that long ago doing a mastermind. So it
that's so cool. So do you remember the exercise we did with like the teaching exercise where uh, um so Lisa had one of us be the teacher and we had
Claire?
to give a presentation and so all the rest of the teachers were the students in the audience, so I'm
Claire,
just
yeah.
explaining it to
Oh,
the
okay, sorry, I'm going
listeners.
to Claire's,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you
I
you
I rocked
definitely know.
them. I rocked those.
And and so, like, all of us had to the other teachers watching the presentation, we had to intentionally cause ruckus,
Mhm.
intentionally try to offset the teacher. So people were going nuts in order to do this. And I remember that at one point you were grabbing my leg during the presentation. I don't know if you remember that. You
I
just
did a
started
lot of
grabbing
things.
my leg. 'Cause people were playing flutes, dancing, like, it was hilarious actually, because we were trying to be put in
Worst situation.
worst case
The
scenarios,
worst
right?
students you could imagine, and then put them on ADHD times 10, and then tell them 'em they're a fairy.
And I remember, because of that exercise, you're right, Tiet. I remember because of the exercise, I tried to put up, a version of a bubble. I actually wanted to do it stronger. I remember actually saying, "Crap, I didn't do this because I had an intention for a certain strength, right?" I'm
Right.
just like, I did not have time to do what I wanted to do, but I did a version of it. And I remember you telling me later when you grabbed my leg, you said I was prickly. You're like you're like, "I felt like spikes or like something icy going up." I'm like, "Oh, you felt my bubble. Like, hi, what's up?"
I remember that, so, I mean, I love declares because I know I did it the 2nd day, and I can remember what I think I got clairsentience is what I think I got because I you know what? And I looked at everybody and I actually used my medical intuitive ability, which I didn't realize I was doing, but I literally felt each one of you guys, and then I rearranged your pairs, and I got you all listening to me. Going, "This isn't supposed to," but
Yeah,
I
yours
played
went
it off
better.
each other. So then she switched things up on me, and it all went downhill from there. But I had it for like 10 minutes.
Yes, I remember there was a portion where it actually strangely worked out,
It worked
those are
really
that's a
well.
huge success.
It did until she changed it up on me, and then it just but I'll tell you what, honestly, that those lessons help me more than anything because when I teach now, because I do teach to groups of people that I get all of them almost as close as much of a ruckus as we could create sometimes, and being able to switch them into something else. So it's kinda nice.
So, someone's asking how do you imagine yourself in a bubble? Like how do you do it? And so I have different I have different ways and you have different ways. Like I imagine if I'm really needing to build it up, like it's almost like I define my energy 360 degrees around me and top
Mhm.
and bottom, and I have to like feel into that and
Right.
have a relationship with that boundary. So I know my furthest extent and then I know when I stop. That's how it works for me, and I could go into it further, but that's the gist of it. How about you, Diet?
Yeah. I do imagine the bubble around me, I always do, but I've really I've got a very large aura, as you know, very large
Yes, you
aura.
do.
It's huge. Um, excuse me, my throat chakra's getting but I have a very large aura. And I had a lot of people say, like, you need to contain that aura, blah, 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 because people were offset by it. And I went, you know what? Piss on people that don't like my aura. It's part of me because when I try to suck it in, I get very depressed and I go very introverted. But I can invite people into my aura. So I actually use my aura to also help me because I'm really good at pushing it out or bringing it back in. So I have my bubble, but at the same time, if I feel like I'm not safe or I feel like somebody's pulling on me, I'll actually push my aura out further to push them away. And it's very interesting because when I push it out, you can actually see somebody taking steps away from me and they have no clue why. But so
Yeah.
I do two things, but it's been a lot of practice with this aura, a lot of practice of doing that, and or I just suck my aura back in really tight and I kind of cocoon myself, which also
Yeah.
helps too.
I'd rather if it made sense, I'd rather make myself bigger than smaller, but
Mhm.
sometimes you do have to make yourself in certain contexts. I
Yeah.
think that's great advice. So someone is asking to we have a lot of questions now. She wanted to ask how old you were when you started your gifts.
My gifts? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Which time is probably the best question. Which time? Um,
Okay.
because you know what? I will tell you what, I went in stages. I went in stages. So I will tell you, yeah, I was the kid that was born. My mother would routinely say, "Yeah, you don't effing know everything, shush." You know what I mean? I swore that was my name. I really did because I was that know-it-all kid. I went to school. I was a know-it-all kid. I would put my hand up before the question was asked, and I just always knew the answers no matter what. But when I was 9 years old is when I had my first mediumship reading or dream where a grandmother came to me and told me, she just basically told me all the ins and outs of spirit and the body and everything else. And she let me know she passed away. I mean, it's a big dream condensed here. But and when I woke, and she told me that my life would be about talking to people that had passed away, not to be afraid of it. I woke up and I told my mom grandma died. She said, no, she didn't, blah, blah, blah. And sure enough, a couple minutes later, my mom got a call, grandma died. And it
Wow.
went that way for a long time. I had a lot of dreams. Oh, I had a lot of I mean, if I dreamt about you, you didn't want to hear about it because you had about a week left. You know what I mean? So I had a lot of dreams about death. That was like my MO for a long time, or I just knew things. It's kind of how it worked. And then when I hit, I think I was about 22, I started delving into tarot cards and Ouija boards, and I started to get this interest. You know what I mean? It would just got bigger, and then I would walk away from it, and then I'd go back to it. And my sister, when she was alive, she was very religious, very Christian. So to her, it was like that's all voodoo. It's against the Bible, blah blah blah. And I would throw it all away, and I would try to ignore it. But yeah, she lived in Texas. I lived up here, and she knew I had these abilities, and she would move and she'd go, "What's my house look like?" And I'd remote view her whole house. Or when
Wow.
her mom, because we don't have, we're not blood sisters, I would talk to her parents that had passed away for her, or I would see different things, and she would be like, those were God-given gifts, and those were okay, but I using tarot boards and or tarot cards and all that was against. So I would walk back and forth on both sides of my abilities, but it wasn't until after she passed away that, she actually came to me in a reading, literally 3 weeks, little 3 weeks and a couple of days from her death. She came through sporadically through a friend of mine, that was a newer medium and gave me a beautiful lecture from the grave because I started crying. I cry, and she's like, "Why are you crying?" And I mean, he was so beautiful of not getting out of the way because literally he goes, "Why are you crying?" Like it was her. And I'm like, "Because now you know me and everything I've been hiding and blah," because I rebought everything, blah, blah, blah. And she gave me a lecture like you wouldn't believe from the other side. I mean, like, holy crap, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, when she was done lecturing me, she looked at him. She goes, "When did God make you?" And he went, and it was so weird because it was this beautiful conversation. And he was like, "I like however many years ago." And she's like, "No, I'm dead. How can you see me?" And he goes, "I've always been able to see dead people." And it really was her first recollection of going, "Oh my God." And that's when she apologized to me for holding me back because she felt she had held me back by, the religious beliefs. And she said she was going to do whatever she could to get me back to where she felt I belonged, if that makes sense.
Wow.
Path. So, and it's really strange because I went from that, and she has been gone 10 years and so many months. My growth, actually, she passed away, and a year later, I dropped everything. I moved to Hayward and started my path and started my healing. And I didn't ask for any of it. None of it. It just got, and it's been, honestly, the last 10 years has just been like, get on the running shoes and go. So, and after that, it's just been step after step after step and just trusting and going and doing whatever. So, but it's literally been divinely inspired, divinely from the other side and pushing as fast as she could. So
And
now she gets
it
mad.
sounds.
At
Oh, go ahead. What'd you say again? Say that
Now she
again.
gets upset with me because I don't listen. I'm
But you had, like this tremendous healing and peace with your sister that really helped you, have the ability to just go and run when
yeah,
it was finally open.
huge. Yeah, because then I would do like my first gallery I did. I can remember being there going, "Oh my god, maybe I shouldn't be here." I mean, this uneasy. And I remember seeing her in the back of the audience going, and all of a sudden she left. And I'm like, where did she go? And then she comes back, she looks and she goes, come on, we got something else to do. And then she was gone again. I'm like, so it's almost like, so now I know when she shows up, oh boy, I've done something great. Oh boy, what's next? So it's my little thing. So yeah, it's been amazing. It's such a journey. But it never ends. That's why I say it's like which part of it? Because
Which part of it? You're
which
right.
part of it? It's
That's the
just
most realistic answer. Which part of it?
yeah. I mean, I could
Um,
give you a generic version. I was born in 1971. Before
Love to hear that version too, though. I'll ask you that on another show. You got it. Um, Tim is asking, how do you both start and end your day? Meditate or just grab coffee and go, or somewhere in between? So, meditate or just grab your coffee and go somewhere. Oh, yeah. I guess that's about how we start our day,
yeah.
potentially. Okay. Would you like to?
For me,
I,
I don't drink coffee, so I'm good there. I don't drink tea in the morning, so I'm good there. I make sure to take time before I get out of bed. So I wake up and I'm one of those people that will lay in bed for 5 to 10 minutes, but it is literally like the first alarm goes off, I will hit snooze, not to go back to sleep, but it's literally to feel my body, feel my energy, and I will slowly move and slowly do whatever I need to do to kind of bring me into this space and then start my day from there. Yeah.
sure. And then how do you end your day as well?
I end my day literally doing the same thing. So I do the intention of cleansing the aura, doing my bubble, all that, getting ready for bedtime. And then I climb into bed and I am that person that will I always turn on the TV. I am that TV, but I don't watch it. It's more for noise. But I hit the timer because I don't want to sleep with it. I hit the timer to turn off. But I will look at my phone. I will do whatever. I will read. I will do whatever. It's just to calm this energy down from the busy day. And then all of a sudden I put everything down and I just kind of get into my bed and I feel my energy out again. And when I feel all settled in the energy, I instantly fall asleep.
So it's a lot of check-ins.
A lot of check-ins for me.
I can relate with what DeEtte is saying. There's a lot of check-ins. When I get up in the morning, I don't like to rush. Sometimes I have to rush. Sometimes, it's a busy day and you just got to get up and go. But I do like to give myself a couple of moments. And what I naturally find that I need, desire, and want is just more checking in with myself. How is my body? What's on my mind? And like it's almost like these little nuggets, either
Mhm,
about myself or about other people, will start kind of dropping in. And it's not because I'm like, oh, I'm tuning in, I want to read the world. I'm not, my sign's not on, like, let's read people from when I wake up. It's actually the opposite. I'll actually not pay attention to people. Like, if I'm going for a walk, I'll be with my husband sometimes if it's like on a weekend, right? Because I like going for walks after I wake up. It really grounds me and makes me feel alert and really good in my body.
mhm,
Like he'll notice something, like just like somebody's doing something across the street. And he's like, you didn't notice that? And I'm just like, well, no, I'm just kind of checking out, and just kind of like, just
mhm.
being. And he's like, I'm surprised it's just that was right in front of us. So I check out to return back to myself. I find that. And so when I do a little bit more of that, I find that I'm able to hyper focus during a reading quite excellently because I gave
Mhm.
myself enough time to just focus on my own needs, so then I can focus on another person's needs quite
Right.
excellently when the time is that. I do have the whole thing is what DeEtte's saying, what I'm saying. I'm constantly, as I'm starting my day and I'm ending my day, I'm making sure that my needs are known. Sometimes I can't attend to all my needs.
Right.
Sometimes I have to do 20 things to fulfill my needs, but I try to write it down or to give myself some of it because then my energy starts to settle down. If I don't give myself time and attention, or if I'm too stressed, my energy just becomes more and more nervous because we're a little bit more aware of what's going on in the environment and in our body. And if we don't tend to that, actually, it really easily offsets our energy. So I hope that makes sense. I could be way more detailed. I could go into my diet. Hydration. I'll say that. Always make sure I'm hydrated. It makes me feel normal.
Exactly.
And a salt too, salt baths for cleansing at the end of the night. So I could say a lot more. It's really important. Energy management, energy protection, that's part of it. That's what DeEtte and I have been talking about.
Yeah.
And the last question, do you, so this is directed towards you, DeEtte, as well too. Do you do anything before sleep to protect your dream state?
Just the exact same thing before I go to bed. You know what I mean? Even though I put on the TV, I always mind what I put on the TV, so I don't have like the news on. I don't have horror flicks on. I don't have. I put like British cooking shows on. I'm not gonna lie, they're British cooking shows. I love that, and I put that on, so that's in the background. And I don't put anything into my energy that I don't want to take into my dream state because this soul is going to go off. This soul is going to go off and have a party, doing whatever it's going to do, and I don't want it to take in anything it shouldn't.
Absolutely. So, wow, everyone, thank you for coming. Thank you for all your beautiful questions. If we didn't get around to answering them, please stop by a future show with DeEtte, on her Unfiltered or Schooled by Spirit. She'd be happy to answer them there. She's on there twice a week. And also, she's starting another show tonight. So come and follow her with that. And DeEtte, where can people find you? The new places, what's the website?
Oh my gosh, my website is just my name, DeEtteRanae.com. You can find me there, which is awesome. I love people to come in there. You can also go to DeEtte Ranae Psychic Medium. I am having a contest on my page. When I get 10,000 followers on DeEtte Ranae Psychic Medium, I'm going to start giving away free readings.
Oh,
So,
wow.
but I got to get the 10,000 first, and then I'm going to start giving away and start doing some fun stuff on there and see what we can do to just interact and have a great time.
That is where DeEtte is shooting her arrow. So
I'm
come.
sure up to 10,000. That's just the beginning. I want like 100,000 plus. Let's be real. Let's be real. I'm done. Done. Let's help the masses. Let's do what we can to help as many as we can.
I love it. She's aiming, and please join her. And you can check her out this week in various forms. Thank you so much, DeEtte, for coming. I always give the guests the final word. What is something you'd like to share with the audience before you leave?
Aim high. Aim high. Somebody brought up earlier today or yesterday, I can't remember it was, that they were told not to manifest very big. And I'm going to tell you, manifest huge. Huge. Don't manifest how it's going to happen, but manifest huge and allow spirit to get you there. Because sometimes they'll take you up and over the Rockies, and sometimes they're going to take you along the winding path. But either way, the view is going to be amazing. The journey is going to be awesome, and you're going to get to where you want to be.
You've heard it from DeEtte, and she knows. So that's for sure. Everybody, thanks so much for being here. Thank you, DeEtte, for joining us. And go with love, luck, light, and don't forget to live, everybody. See you next week. Take care.
Bye-bye.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.